The first thing I heard was my brother Namdi shouting in the dark that he needed to get out of the house. His voice was shaking like something inside him had broken. Chairs were falling, plates were shifting, and for one small second I thought our family was dying in that darkness. The words our father said were still hanging in the air like smoke. He said the boy is not even my son. That one sentence scattered our home like wind scattering dry leaves. But that moment was not where the story began. Let me take it back to the evening when everything looked normal, when the smell of jollof rice filled our small dining room and all of us sat around the table pretending we were fine. My name is Obioma. I am 16 years old, and I see everything even when people think I do not. That evening started like all the others. NEPA light was on. Mama was smiling her tired smile. Papa was eating quietly like always. Namdi was pressing his phone under the table. Kamsi was chewing chicken bone with joy. All of us were pretending peace lived in our house, even though it did not. The clock on the wall reached 7. That was the time NEPA normally took the light. We were used to it. We even planned our dinner around it. But this night, NEPA surprised us. As we were still eating, the whole house suddenly went black. I could not even see my own hand. Our spoon stopped moving. For a moment, nobody breathed. Mama stood up slowly and found the candle. She lit it and put it in the middle of the table. The candle flame showed only half of our faces. Papa's face was mostly in the dark. That darkness should have warned us, but how would we know what was coming? We continued eating. The food did not taste sweet anymore. Everything felt heavy. Namdi said he needed money for school. Papa looked at him and said, "School is for grateful children that know how to behave." The air in the room became tight. I felt it pressing on my chest. Then something happened. A breeze passed the window. Maybe it was the jealousy window shaking. Maybe Kamsi touched the table. Till today, I do not know. But the candle went off. Darkness filled the whole room again. I could not see anyone. I could only hear breathing and quiet movement. That was when Papa spoke. His voice came from somewhere inside the dark, like he was far away from all of us. He said the boy is not even mine. I did not understand at first. My heart jumped. My spoon dropped. Namdi asked Papa what he meant. Mama asked him too, but Papa continued talking. He said he had carried that thought for 19 years. He said Namdi did not look like him. He said Mama was close to one man before they married. I could hear something inside Mama break. All of us sat there in the dark, not touching each other, not seeing each other, but feeling our whole life shaking like a building with cracked pillars. That was how the night started. The night that changed my family forever. After Papa said those words in the dark, I felt the whole room bend. It was like the walls were leaning in to listen. Nobody moved. Even the darkness felt heavier, like it had hands pressing on our backs. My heart was beating loud in my ears. I wanted to stand up, but my legs felt tied to the chair. Mama's voice came first. It was low and shaking. She asked Papa to repeat himself. She asked him like she was begging him not to say it again. But Papa did not stop. He said he had carried that thought like a stone in his stomach for many years. He said every time he looked at Namdi, he wondered if he was raising another man's son. His voice was sharp, almost angry, but I could hear something else inside it. Fear, pain, maybe shame. I did not even know. Namdi stood up so fast that his chair hit the wall. I heard his breath break in his throat. He said Papa should tell him the truth properly. But Papa kept talking like he had been waiting for the light to go off before spilling everything. He said he remembered Mama and the man called Amika. He said he remembered seeing them laughing together before the marriage. He said the timing of the pregnancy never sat well with him. His voice grew louder, then softer, then loud again. I could not even see him, but I imagined his face twisting in the dark. Mama was quiet for a long time, too long. That kind of silence is not ordinary. That kind of silence means something is about to break. When she finally spoke, her voice cracked. She said there was something I need to tell you. She said it slowly, like each word was a heavy bucket she was carrying. She said yes, she had known Amika. Yes, she cared about him. Yes, they were close. But she had thought everything was finished before she married Papa. Then she said something that made even the darkness feel colder. She said she did not know who truly fathered Namdi. She said she tried to forget the timing because she wanted her marriage to work. The moment she said that, I heard Namdi let out a sound I had never heard before. It was not crying. It was not shouting. It was the sound of someone falling from inside themselves. He started moving again, bumping into chairs, trying to find the door. He said he needed to breathe. He said he needed to run. He said he needed to get away from all of us. I quickly stood up too. I used my hands to feel the air and block his path. I could not see him, but I could feel the heat coming off his body. I told him to sit. My voice was shaking. He said we were behaving like cowards, talking in the dark. I told him, yes, we will talk in the dark. We will not run. Not today. Kamsi started crying quietly. He asked if we were still a family. Mama tried to touch him, but I heard her hand hit the table instead. Papa went silent, like he had disappeared from the room. In that thick darkness, I said something I did not plan. I told everyone that since we are all already broken, we might as well talk. Proper talking. The kind where nobody pretends. The kind where nobody hides behind light. That was how the real fight started. The fight that did not use fists but still hurt like blows. The fight where every lie, every secret, every fear began to crawl out of the shadows and sit with us at the table. When I told everyone we should talk, proper talking, nobody answered at first. It felt like the whole house was holding its breath. The darkness was so thick, it felt like smoke entering my nose. I could hear Papa swallowing hard. Mama's breathing was fast, like she had been running. Namdi's feet shuffled on the floor as if he was ready to bolt again. Even little Kamsi's sniffing sounded too loud. I sat down slowly so Namdi would hear the chair move and know I was not blocking his way anymore. I wanted him to choose to stay, not feel forced. He didn't sit, but he didn't walk out either. Papa finally spoke, but the strength in his voice was gone. He sounded old. He said he had been carrying the doubt since the first day he held Namdi in his arms. He said the baby did not look like him at all, and people made small comments that he pretended not to hear. He said he didn't know how to ask Mama without destroying their marriage, so he kept quiet. But keeping quiet did not give him peace. It only grew into something worse, something that made him treat Namdi with distance without even meaning to. Mama started crying again, but this time it was not soft. Her cry came like she had been holding it for years. She said Papa had never given her any sign he doubted her. She said she had been dying slowly inside their home because she felt Papa's love going up and down like NEPA light. She said she tried her best to be perfect so his heart would stay steady. She said she wanted him to trust her, but she understood why he struggled. She said she didn't even trust herself sometimes when she thought back to the timing of her pregnancy. Namdi's voice came next. His anger was not loud. It was cold. He said if Papa doubted him since he was born, why did he stay? Why did he raise him? Why did he punish him with silence instead of saying a single word? He said he grew up thinking he was the problem. He said he worked hard in school just to hear Papa say well done, but Papa always found something to complain about. He asked if every insult Papa threw at him was because he believed he did not belong here. Papa tried to answer, but his voice cracked. He said he was scared. He said he was ashamed. He said he did not know how to be a father while carrying fear that he was living another man's life. Obioma, I told myself, talk now before the whole house catches fire. So I spoke again. I told them I used to feel invisible in my own home. I said I made myself small so nobody would notice me and put their anger on me. I said I used to read Papa's face every day like exam questions to know what mood the house would be in. I said I loved my brother and my mother and even Papa, but all of us had been living in a quiet storm that kept getting stronger. I felt Mama move in the dark. She was reaching for someone, maybe for all of us. She said we needed to stop talking like enemies. She said no matter what comes out of tonight, we are still one house. She begged us not to let darkness finish what light had been struggling to hold together. Then Kamsi spoke, his small voice shaking. He said he didn't want any test. He said he didn't want any father from outside. He said he didn't want anybody to leave. He said he just wanted us to stay one family, even if we were hurting. That was when Papa broke. We heard it. The way his breath cut, the way he groaned from deep inside. He said he never wanted to break us. He said he only wanted to free himself from the fear eating him. He said he wished he never opened his mouth when NEPA took the light. But it was too late. The truth was already on the table, sitting with us like another member of the family, and we all knew the night was not done with us yet. Nobody moved for a long time after Papa said he wished he never opened his mouth. It felt like we were sitting inside the center of a wound that had been waiting for years to open. The darkness was still full around us, like it was listening too. I could hear a generator far away in another compound, humming like a reminder that other families were living their normal life while ours was breaking open. But something changed. The fear in our breathing had turned into something else. Something tired, but not hiding again. Mama's voice came first. It was low and rough, like she had no strength left. She said she wanted to tell her own truth, not the one Papa thought he knew, not the one she hid to protect peace. She said when she met Papa, she was young and confused. She said she loved Amika, yes, but Amika's family did not like her. Papa came with calmness, with a good name, with parents who welcomed her. Everyone said Papa was the right man. She said she chose Papa because she wanted a safe life. But safety is not the same thing as happiness. We were silent, even Namdi, even me. Mama said she never cheated on Papa. She said she was already drifting away from Amika when Papa came. But the shame came from the timing of everything. She said when the doctor told her she was pregnant, she counted the weeks over and over in her head until she almost ran mad. She said she pushed the truth down because she was afraid of losing everything she had just built. Papa asked in a small voice if she still loved Amika back then. Mama didn't lie. She said she did, but that love died long ago, and what she carried now was guilt, not feelings. She said she loved Papa in her own way, a quiet love that grew from respect and duty, not from loud romance. Namdi stepped closer to her. We could hear his soft footsteps. He asked if she ever wished he wasn't born. Mama cried again, but softer. She said Namdi was the best thing she ever had in her whole life. She said losing Papa's trust was painful, but losing Namdi's heart would finish her. For the first time since the light went off, Papa got up from his chair. His movement scraped the floor. He walked towards Mama's side. We couldn't see anything, but we heard him. He said he was sorry for turning his fear into anger. He said he didn't know how to ask for the truth without sounding like he wanted to fight. He said he felt like a stranger in his own house sometimes. I felt Namdi's own breath, shaky and lost. He asked Papa if Papa still wanted him as a son. The question hit me in my chest so hard I almost gasped. Papa answered quickly, almost tripping over his words. He said he raised Namdi. He said he taught him, shouted at him, fed him, prayed for him, worked for him. He said no part of him wanted to lose that. Kamsi spoke again, his voice so tiny I almost missed it. He asked if DNA can change love. Nobody answered at first. Then Mama said no. She said DNA only shows blood. She said love shows choice. She said family is built from both, but choice is what keeps it alive. I felt something shift in the dark, not in the room but inside us, like we were slowly turning toward each other. Obioma, talk now. I told myself again, so I said I didn't care whose blood was whose. I said I only cared about us not breaking. I said the world outside our house is already hard enough. School stress, money wahala, life itself. I said I didn't want to come home and meet a battlefield. There was quiet again, but this quiet was different. Softer, waiting for what comes next. Then Papa said something I will never forget. He said he wanted us to take whatever step would bring peace. He said if Namdi wanted the test, they would do it. He said if he changed his mind tomorrow, they would not do it. He said he would follow whatever decision Namdi took, because this time he wanted to choose love instead of fear. Mama exhaled like she had been underwater all her life and just touched air for the first time. We were still in darkness. The candle was still out. The truth was still heavy, but it no longer felt like something trying to destroy us. It felt like something trying to rebuild us. The night began to thin into early morning, but we didn't notice at first. It was still dark inside the house, still heavy, still thick with all the things we had said and all the things we were afraid to feel. But something inside us had shifted. The fear that had been choking us was no longer the loudest thing in the room. What filled the air now was a quiet, trembling kind of honesty. Namdi was the one who finally broke the silence. His voice was tired, almost empty, like he had cried without tears. He said he didn't want to do any DNA test. He said he didn't want science to answer a question his heart had been answering since he was a child. He said Papa was the only father he knew, the only one who held him on his first day of school, the only one he feared and loved at the same time. He said he didn't want to replace that with a paper result. He said he just wanted peace. But the words didn't sound like peace. They sounded like surrender, like someone carrying a wound too deep to clean. Papa tried to speak, but his voice broke again. He said he didn't want Nnamdi to choose out of fear. He said he didn't want to trap him in a family that might be built on a lie. He said he wanted Nnamdi to decide with a free heart, not a wounded one. Mama moved closer to Nnamdi. We heard her hand touch his back, gentle but shaking. She said she didn't care what any test would say. She said she already knew whose heart she carried for 9 months. She said raising Nnamdi taught her more about love than any relationship she had ever been in. She said she didn't want a test to erase her own truth. The house was quiet again, but the quiet felt like a question waiting for an answer. Then something unexpected happened. Papa asked for the candle. Mama lit it again. The small flame rose in the middle of the table. For the first time since the light had gone off, we could see each other's faces, and what we saw was not anger anymore. It was exhaustion, heartbreak, and a small, fragile kind of hope. Papa looked directly at Nnamdi for the first time that night. His eyes were red. He said whether the boy came from his blood or from another man, he was still his son. He said he was done fighting shadows in his mind. He said he wanted to rebuild what he had broken, stone by stone, truth by truth. He said he was willing to take responsibility for every wound his silence caused. Nnamdi didn't answer immediately. His chest was rising and falling fast, like he was holding something inside that needed space. Then he did something none of us expected. He walked to Papa and knelt beside him, not to beg, not out of fear, but out of exhaustion, out of longing, out of a desire to feel anchored again. He rested his head on Papa's shoulder. Papa froze at first, then slowly placed his hand on Nnamdi's back. Mama cried quietly. Kamsi moved closer, putting his small hand on Papa's arm as if helping to hold the entire moment together. I watched all of them, feeling something warm rise in my chest. Not happiness, not yet, but the beginning of healing. The kind that grows slowly, like daylight creeping into a room. The generator in the next compound went off. The whole street became quiet. Then suddenly, NEPA brought the light back. The bulb above us blinked, flickered, and then shone bright. We all winced as our eyes adjusted, but none of us moved away from each other. The truth was still there. The pain was still real. The future was still unsure. But in that brightness, nobody was hiding anymore. Nobody was pretending anymore. We were standing inside the wreckage of our family, but for the first time in years, we were standing together. And somehow, that felt like the first step toward rebuilding what had almost shattered completely in the dark.